back, Cubs. Direwolf here. And today we're going to be checking out a YouTube video from the super serious news agency, the BBC News. Since the BBC is world renowned as being a reputable source, quote unquote, I'm sure their new video, Digital Blackface, will be both informative and impartial. Or heck, it might even be completely idiotic race baiting. I guess we'll find out together. Alright, drop some knowledge on me, BBC propaganda, I mean news.
Ever shared this? Or this? Nothing like a good reaction gif, right?
Oh, of course! Have you shared this one, or this one, or this one? These are all very popular gifs shared by everybody as well. These are very funny reactions on very expressive people, no matter what the race. So they're very popular.
But you've probably noticed the most popular ones are of black people being dramatic.
That's a matter of opinion. Have you measured that? Have you counted how many gifs have black and white people? And if you did, why? Don't answer that. We know you didn't. The far more important point is, these people were made into gifs because their reactions were funny, not because they represent an entire race.
This is digital blackface.
Alright then every time a black person posts a gif of a white person, that's digital whiteface. See how that works? Because BBC, if it works one direction, then it works the other direction if we're being treated equally. If we're following your logic, then every race would be relegated to only using gifs of people of their race, which is segregation and racism.
Blackface is when a non-black person uses makeup to blacken up. Minstrel shows depicted black people in all sorts of negative ways.
I just can't get past the fact you're trying to compare the posting of a funny reaction gif of a black comedian to blackface in the old movies. The posting of a reaction gif of a black person being shocked or surprised is not a commentary or judgment on all black people. And it is nothing like painting your face black and then on a stage pretending to be really dumb and slow to try to portray all black people as being dumb and slow like they did in the old movies. They are not remotely similar. One was driven by hatred and bigotry and the other one by humor. If you are treating people equally, then you can find a black person's reaction funny the same way you can find a white person's reaction funny. You've got to be running out of things to be offended by. You gotta be scraping the barrel if you're trying to be offended by reaction gifs.
They were mocking, demeaning stereotypes, and they exaggerated black people's facial features and their expressions.
But that's not what reaction gifs do. They're showing actual people's expressions that are funny. Do you think reaction gifs of white people and their exaggerated reactions are a reflection on what white people are like? Are they an insult to white people? Of course not. BBC, where's your video telling black people to stop using digital whiteface? You don't have one because no one's offended by it, and your entire argument is absurd.
And digital blackface is the 21st century version of that. White people using gifs to perform some kind of exaggerated blackness.
No, it is not white people trying to perform some sort of exaggerated blackness. It is white people appreciating the humor of those individuals in the gifs. You're imputing intent and motive that does not exist. The only intent or motive here is, this picture, this gif is funny, and I appreciate it, and I'm going to use it. The black person in this gif does not represent all black people.
And that's not all. Let's talk about white people using dark-skinned emojis.
You realize you don't own the dark skin emojis. They aren't exclusively yours. You realize you can't tell people how they are allowed to express themselves. If everyone is equal and the color of your skin does not matter, then it does not matter what emoji you use. Equality is not separating things and saying this stuff is for white people and this stuff is for black people. Equality is we all share in this culture together. I can express myself the same way you can express yourself, and the color of the person in the GIF doesn't matter because people are equal no matter what the race.
This is a form of cultural appropriation, paying little respect to someone else's culture and using it however you please.
The concept of cultural appropriation is completely idiotic. When someone adopts something from another culture, they are not taking it from that culture. That culture still has all of their culture. They have not been denied anything. There is no harm in someone adopting something from another culture. Second, the mixing and the melding of cultures is a pivotal part of the evolution of society. It is how knowledge and ideas grow and are refined. And the sharing and mixing of cultures is how you bridge a racial divide. Insisting that your culture is for you and you alone, and being intolerant to the mixing and sharing of culture, it breeds division. It says that your people are different than my people people, and you are not allowed to do the things that we do. When someone adopts something from another culture, it is not racism, it is appreciation for that culture. However, denying them the ability to share in that culture is racist. Moreover, there is no original culture today. How far back does the concept of cultural appropriation go? Because everything inside your culture has come from other cultures in the past. You did not invent your culture, and you have no claim to it. It is not your property. So since you do not own the culture, and no culture was taken from you, then cultural appropriation has no victim and is no crime. In the distant past, some white people said that black people could not do some of the things that white people do, and could not go some places where white people go. And that was racism. That was segregation and Jim Crow laws. Now universally seen as being wrong. And yet here you are saying that there's some things that white people can't do that black people can do. And that's completely okay with you.
So what's wrong with white people posting these GIFs and using these emojis? Well, black people are not here for other people's entertainment.
Black people in general? No. Those black comedians in the GIFs? Actually, entertainment is their job. That said, a reaction GIF of a black person does not turn black people into clowns any more than a reaction GIF of a white person, Asian, or any other ethnic group turned them into clowns. You gotta understand that there is reaction GIFs of every race. Digital blackface is no more a real thing than digital whiteface, digital Asian face, or digital Latino face.
We're not symbols of excessive emotion, and we aren't here to make you look more sassy, more sexy, or more street.
And you're also not a homogenous group, so when someone posts a reaction GIF of one black person, it is not a reflection on all black people.
We don't want to be seen as having two-dimensional personalities. Let us decide for ourselves how we wish to be perceived.
I hate to break it to you, but you don't decide how other people perceive you. You can only decide how you present yourself. And because of this ill-conceived video, you are being perceived as both racist and incompetent, and simultaneously showing the BBC to be out of touch with both its viewership and reality.
Now, I'm not saying you have to be black to post these GIFs.
No, you're only suggesting that you'll be second-guessing that we might have racist motives if we do. What would be the purpose of everything you've said so far if not to discourage using black people in reaction GIFs if you are white? You made it very clear that you believe these reaction GIFs are popular among white people not because they are humorous, but because of some deep-seated racism.
But what I am saying is think about what you're doing. Ask yourself why you're always drawn to that GIF or that emoji.
Maybe because it's humorous and it fits the current conversation. I'm also starting to think the BBC doesn't understand how the internet works. When you tell the internet not to do something, they're gonna do it 10 times more. All this video has achieved is showed exactly how much the BBC is invested in identity politics, and likely increased the use of black reaction GIFs by non-black people.
So that's my view. But what do you think?
What do I think? Oh boy, am I glad you asked. First off, I don't think you're very intelligent, and I think you're quite a bit of a racist. And I'm somewhat shocked with all the big things going on in the world that the BBC thought it was important to spend time and money on this subject. But I shouldn't be surprised, because this is obviously what happens when you hire based on diversity, not based on journalistic skill. BBC News, let me remind you, you are a news agency, not BuzzFeed. This video is a bovine excrement that I would expect from BuzzFeed, but not from a major news agency. And I find it reprehensible that you are stoking the flames of racial tensions. How about you try covering actual news? Instead of covering a story about how to apply makeup after an acid attack, which is like literally covering up the main problem, how about you cover a story about why there's a rising trend of acid attacks in Europe? What ideology or culture does it come from? What has changed recently in Europe that has corresponded to the rise in attacks? How about you care less about microaggressions and more about actual aggression? You're overextending your arm and pulling your arm out of socket to reach for some sort of imagined oppression when there's literally enemies at the gate who want to oppress you and your entire culture. Do not infantilize black people and treat them all as victims. They are not. And do not demonize white people and contribute to them evil motives that very few of them have. You should be encouraging the sharing and incorporation of cultures, not the segregation of cultures. That is what I think, BBC. Direwolf, out! Okay, that was kind of dumb. Whatever, I'm gonna keep it anyways.